Hi, Heather here. You know, I knew God for 14 years before I really felt like I knew God. I know that sounds confusing, and it is. It is confusing. Basically, what it comes down to is this. I thought I knew God. I read all the Christian books. I studied Christian books. I went to church. I went to multiple churches every day. Not every day, I can't say that, every Sunday. And then sometimes in the middle of the week too. I tried to get to know God a lot of different ways. And I thought I knew Him. I thought we were close. I thought I understood God's nature. I guess you could say I had a little bit of pride in thinking that I really knew God. And then another trial came. And I realized that I didn't know God at all. It didn't. What happened is I was helping a friend of mine who was homeless. And this friend, unbeknownst to me, had borderline personality disorder. And he really liked me. And there was a lot of complications that I won't go into. But let's just say he was a great friend. My kids loved him. He was always good to me to begin with. But sometimes people have issues. And sometimes those issues cause them to do things that they really can't control. Like they really can't. And then they're stuck with the consequences of their actions afterwards. But it doesn't keep you from possibly getting hurt in the aftermath. And I was trying to help this person. And it backfired because this person thought we were closer than we actually were. And it led to a huge fiasco. Like, this person did some things that got him arrested. What happened is he got so mad at me, he went out drinking, and then he took my vehicle, mind you, which I didn't give him permission to take. He took my vehicle, went out drinking, ended up getting sloshed, and at some Walmart where he decided that he was going to commit suicide. And he decided he was going to do that by stealing money. Now, to this day, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if he actually ever intended to commit suicide or if he just said that and he had a unbeknownst drug problem. I don't know the details. All I know is that he ended up taking a BB gun off the shelf and robbing the Walmart and calling me afterwards and telling me that he did. And I didn't believe him. I mean, what? Are you ever going to believe that? A friend calls you and tells you they robbed a Walmart? No, you're not going to believe them. You're going to think it's crazy. But then I heard sirens while I was on the phone with him. And then he said he was going to have some shootout with the police and hung up. I actually thought he died. I mean, it was devastating to me. And of course I called the cops, and come to find out he actually did rob a Walmart. And I was the one who actually ended up turning him in. I turned him in. But you know what that did? Every text I had gotten, everything in relation to this that I had gotten from him, and even personal texts before that, became public knowledge because I told the cops. And I don't know if you know this, but anything you tell a cop when he walks in your door becomes part of a report, and that report becomes public knowledge. So if the news is having a slow day and wants to make a lot of people read the news or watch the news or read the paper, whatever, you know what I mean? I know at this point I'm not making much sense. But anyways, if the news wants you to watch the news, they're going to come up with what they think is juicy information. And I'll be honest and say that only a very small portion of it is true. And I know this because that's entirely what happened in this situation. I actually helped. My friend never turned himself in until he called me. And I actually got him to call the cops and turn himself in. The newspaper reported him lurking behind a dumpster, and that's where they caught him and all this other stuff when I was on the phone with the cops when they caught him. I mean, the way that the newspaper reports things and the way the truth are two entirely different things. So I've learned in my life not to trust everything that the media says. But anyways, the newspaper reporter that I would not talk to got mad at me and decided to out me and put me in the paper and spread my name. And I'll tell you what, 90% of the people in my life scattered. They abandoned me. Totally. Nothing will drive your friends away more than something that you supposedly did that they view as a sin. And the more the media shouts it, the more your friends are going to avoid you. I hate to say it, but it's true. It was literally the best thing that ever happened to me. And I mean that 100%. Why? Because at that point in my life, the only one who knew what I was going through, well, at that point, I didn't think anybody did. I didn't think anybody was there for me. I didn't think anybody was going to be with me. I didn't think anybody cared. It took me a long time to go back to church. And in the meantime, the church that I was going to called me, kicked me off the dream team, kicked me off the homeless ministry. I mean, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It made me feel worthless. And I had really nobody to talk to about everything that was going on. I had friends, but most of them were busy with their own life. And it was a time when, to them, it probably seemed like a small trial compared to the other ones I've been through, right? But to me, it was such a big one. Because I really didn't want to be alone, and I needed support at that time. And I really didn't have anybody. But then one day I decided that I wasn't going to let it keep me from God, and I decided to go to church. And walking into that church that had kicked me off the dream team, that had kicked me off the homeless ministry, was literally the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I remember walking, I literally showed up late, and I remember walking in late, and then the most amazing thing happened. I walked in, and an usher that had previously, I don't think ever talked to me, came up to me and said, after I was trying to find a seat in the back, he said, "Would you like a seat down up front? I can find you a seat down front." Now, I knew this person had no idea what was going on in my life. And I knew that the Holy Spirit had guided him to tell me that at that particular moment. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was God saying, "Hey, everybody has forsaken you. Everybody thinks they know who you are. Everybody thinks they know what you did. Everybody has walked away. But you know what? I'm still here for you. I know your heart. I know everything that you've done. I know any sins you've committed. I know any thoughts you've had. I know what your motives were. I knew where your heart was. And I'll tell you what, when everybody else rejects you, I want you down in front with me. I want you close to me. I want you here with me. I want to be here for you. I want to help you. I want to support you when all the rest of the world walks away." Sorry, car went by. And that is exactly what happened. It was like I got a new appreciation for my relationship with God. I no longer was one of those people who just learned about God from other people or a Christian book. I actually took to learning about him myself. I mean, I started reading my Bible better than I ever had. I started spending my days, instead of spending them with friends talking about God, I started spending my days with God. I started focusing on the positives and doing things not because I felt like I was supposed to, but because I loved God and I wanted to. Stupid mosquito. But anyways, it made all the difference. And I will say that one experience led me to a relationship with God, like a real relationship, not like a silly relationship, not like silly relationship. That doesn't even make sense. Not like a relationship between somebody behind a pane of glass watching somebody they appreciate from far away, which is sort of what my relationship with God was like before. But somebody who could pick up a phone and say, hey, Heavenly Dad, I need you. I love you. I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I want you to help me solve this problem. And I went to God first before anybody else from that moment. And if I didn't talk to God on any day, it would make me sad. And I would miss him. I actually had a good relationship. The kind of relationship you're supposed to have. I went 14 years without that. 14 years without a great relationship with God. Thought I knew him. I had no idea. So sometimes even those trials that we don't think about, the ones that aren't death or addiction or the really big trials, can still be the really big trials. And they can still be used by God to bring us to a different level of appreciation and love. So when you're feeling rejected by everybody, like everybody walks away, everybody thinks they've known what you've done, everybody talks about you, everybody gossips, everybody misunderstands, everybody's not there. When it feels like you're all alone, you are never alone. You have your best friend with you. You have your Father with you. You have the person that loves you the most, even though technically it's not a person. But you have Jesus who gave his life for you, and you're never, ever alone. And you're never, ever rejected, even if it feels like you might be. So, I just want to let you know that God is there for you. And technically, if you're watching this, I am there for you too. And so should every Christian you come in contact with. Not all of them would be, but if they're genuine, they will be. So, anyways, I love you. Thank you for listening, and I'm out.